talk about the work of the Standards Forum. These nice people are going to be here. We'll be talking to all of them. I'll introduce them in a second. But let me just tell you a little bit about the Standards Forum. This is its 9th year here at Sibos. And today, what we really want to focus on is how it's going in its journey of practical standards implementation, and specifically, how can global standards meet the needs, serve the needs of both global and local communities. So these nice men and women have all joined us, and all the ladies have been saying that this is a very challenging chairs. So hopefully we won't have any wardrobe malfunctions. So let's introduce them all. Here, right next to me is Juliet Kennel. She is the head of standards at Swift. Next to her is Kevin Hoestoon. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Very good with my Scottish accent. And he is the chairman and owner of Fix Protocol. Is that correct?
I'm the co-chair of the Fix Protocol.
Co-chair of Fix Protocol. And Martin Brachet is with us, head of interbank relationships at Societe Generale. Brian Crabtree, next to her, director of market practice, standards and Swift at Citi Transaction Services. And last but not least, Chantal Van Ness, Swift standards expert. So thanks to all of you for joining us. Let's start with you, if I can, Juliet. First of all, a year on from Sibos Toronto, what's really changed in the world of standards?
Well, from my perspective, the biggest change has been the fact that last year we announced the new product called My Standards, and since then it's actually been built and rolled out to customers. In fact, some of the customers have decided to buy this product are sitting on this panel with me. So that, for me, that's first and foremost the biggest change.
What do you think of the product?
I think it's an excellent product. The challenge with standards is always driving maximum adoption so that you can get the most benefit out of the standards. And My Standards will help us at Citi both internally with our management process and with our communication to clients, so it makes their experience better. So it's a big improvement over the past.
Okay, so Kevin, you know, a lot of people like Brian, are looking for faster, they're looking for simpler, they want everything yesterday, and they want it all for a lesser cost, don't they? What are some of the new things out there that are available to clients?
Well, I think platforms like My Standards help enormously, and one of the things I've just been doing is been involved in the Foresight report looking at HFT and computer-based trading, and one of the recommendations that makes is that standards play a much greater role. And one of the things we found in that is that the adoption of a standard is driven by two factors, openness and credibility, and I think platforms like My Standards really help with credibility, as does our collaboration via the standards roadmap, so that we're working together to show our customers how they can use the multitude of standards that currently exist in a coherent and joined-up manner.
And Martine, I guess a lot of the challenge with this is because a lot of the underlying processes are manual. What's taking so long? Why can't we speed this up more quickly?
So you say manual, I'm not so sure that it is still manual, but in any case, when we use a platform like My Standards, we will replace the implementation guides that we use normally, and it will be available to everybody very easily, which is different from what we do in the past. Really.
Okay, so Brian, you talked about My Standards. From your point of view, how can Swift continue to address challenges faced by clients like yourself?
I think that to continue to expand the capabilities of My Standards, to move it into market practice areas so that we cover those aspects of standardization as well, and also to help to look at how we can use different syntaxes and still base them off the underlying standards and make it easier to leverage the existing industry infrastructure, but also take advantage of the developing standards.
This is a question I want to ask to all of you, if I can. We'll start with you, Juliet, and end up with you, Brian, and then we'll go to Martine at the end there to find out a little bit, Chantal at the end there to find out a little bit about some of the activities we've got planned. But in my introduction, I talked about this idea of Swift being a global organization, but it still has to serve the needs of both global and local communities. How can global standards really do that?
I think the first thing that we need to do is sit down and actually talk about some of the issues that we have. And I think a good example, a current good example, is the whole issue about character sets on ISO 20022. And on Wednesday, we have a session on the Standards Forum where we're actually going to have a discussion about whether or not we should be carrying non-Latin character sets in our messages. So I think the first and foremost, what we need to do is decide what we want to do together as a community, and then find practical ways of implementing those changes.
I think from a sort of purely technical perspective, I mean, the important thing to remember about both Swift and Fix is they're both effectively gateway technologies. And what do I mean by gateway technologies is that they enable processes which can be local. So if you think about another gateway technology, for shipping containers that we all passed this morning driving to the building, they're a gateway technology. Locally, they may have different goods in them for different markets, but they're that same infrastructure is what means that those ports enable trade between countries, and those shipping containers, they may lead to slightly ugly areas in the docks, but they facilitate that and bring down barriers to entry, and that's, not barriers to entry, costs in the global economy. I think that's incredibly important.
So from my point of view, if we come back for ISO 20022, for me it's a fabulous tool to speak the same language all over the planet. And it's very different from when we did in the past.
Okay, Brian.
I think that the important thing is to have the global aspect of the standard as large as possible, but also recognize that there's always going to be local extensions that are necessary, and to have an environment where the global platform can support the local extensions.
Okay, so Chantal, I want to find out what you have in store at the Standards Forum stand for us this week. Tell us what you have in store.
Well, actually, we have a little box in store, and it's a bit bigger than this, and it's actually taking last year's theme a bit further. Last year, the Standards Forum stand went green, and this year we're really taking that to the extreme. Our whole stand is like a box, a big recyclable cardboard box in which we have lots of surprises for everybody, and which we also want to encourage some out-of-the-box thinking. So starting today, for instance, at 4:30, we're going to develop a standard in real time, hands-on. So we invite everybody that has never had that great experience to come along and join us to develop a standard in real time.
Yeah, I'm interested in what surprises are in the box. Are they going to be girls' best friends? I'm hoping that they are, otherwise I'll definitely come round to the Standards Forum. Last year you had the aubergines, didn't you? You have to take a look. Remind everybody where the stand is.
Yes, the stand is in Hall 3, and we don't have aubergines, but we do have professors. So every day we start off the Standards Forum with Rise and Shine sessions with Professor Pop on all topic standards.
Okay, let me ask each of you then. I mean, obviously your topic of the Standards Forum fits within a broader agenda here at Sibos. What are you hoping that the rest of the community is going to take on board about what you each do?
Well, what I'm hoping the community will do is go to the Sibos sessions and hear about the high-level topics of what's going on, what's important in the industry, and then come along to the Standards Forum and perhaps dig down into a bit deeper into how standards can help in each of the areas they're discussing. That's what I'm hoping.
I think I'd just like to see more adoption and more use, because one of the crises that our industry is facing at the moment is the lack of transparency, and standards can only help with that.
So for more networking maybe, and the Standards Forum, and more appropriation of the implementation of those standards that we are developing together.
Brian?
I mean, City attends Sibos in general to collaborate with our clients and find ways to meet their needs. And as a firm believer in that the standards help drive down risk and drive down cost and can help produce new solutions for our clients, we want to take part in the Standards Forum, and provide that element of support for the clients.
Okay, and Chantal?
Well, I think standards only come into being because global players and local players give input. Standard is an immaterial thing, and it only gets realized through lots of dialogue and lots of thinking. So that's the exact objective of the Standards Forum.
And some of these professors that you've got, tell us what they are going to be chatting about.
Well, today they start with standards fundamentals. Tomorrow the professor will go on talking about implementation insights. On Wednesday he'll be chatting about market practices and how they relate to standards. And on Thursday we finish the week with a big standards Professor Pop quiz.
Professor Pop quiz. Okay,
Exactly.
great. We're looking forward to it. It's sounding exciting already. I'm intrigued about what's in those boxes. So for sure, everybody go along to Hall 3 to the Standards
Exactly.
Forum. Thanks to all
Thank
of you
you.
for
Thank
joining
you.
us.